Hey everyone.
Yo, yo, yo.
How's it going?
I'm back.
We missed Antonia so much last week, so we're so glad that she's here.
It was kind of fun to be in the audience, the live chat.
Oh yeah, you got to see me, in the hot seat kind of by myself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you did great though.
Yay! Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It wasn't the same though.
Okay, well. As long as you feel that, because we have issues. Actually, it was a lot better.
Oh, no. It could never be better without you here. So, but thank you all for tuning in to the Trigger Warning 2A podcast.
Yes, I'm Antonia Okafor.
And I'm Nina Prevost. We had a little bit of technical difficulties earlier with our guest, and we're so sorry that we're going to have to reschedule. But we will have Andrew Pollack on. It's going to happen.
Yes. We have his book, Why Beto Died. We're going to talk about it hopefully next week. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Go out and buy it on Amazon. Read it. Maybe a little of it before we have him on the show. Ask him questions.
Right.
So,
he made clear to us that he is excited to come on and talk about why he's become a proponent of the Second Amendment, even more so since he lost his daughter in the Parkland shooting. Right. So his perspective is really important. We can't wait to have him on. And I'm so sorry that our technology was having problems. It's really Skype's fault, but that's...
By the way, if anyone has any alternatives to Skype, let us know.
Yeah, because
really good ones.
They took away Google Hangouts from the whole possibility of streaming to YouTube. So if people know of something that we could do as an alternative, that would be great. Just be great. But even though we don't have Andrew Pollack here tonight, we still have things to talk about. Yeah. And what did we decide we were going to talk about first?
I sent you the video. It's on Edgar. It's on the tweeted it, or not tweeted. I sent it to you.
Right.
I was going to talk about if people wanted to, the climate change. We can talk about the Beto, the Robert Francis O'Rourke town hall. And
oh yeah.
The other one.
Well, we could talk about Robert Francis and what happened here in Colorado at the town hall while Edgar is getting that clip ready. So I don't know. You weren't here last week when I ragged on Robert Francis about the whole hell yes, we're gonna take your AR-15s and all of that. So I don't know if you want to comment on that briefly since you didn't get to say your piece last week.
Right. I was listening to a little bit what you were saying, but yeah, I was like, yeah, girl, that's exactly how I felt. Because the thing is, I was even thinking about today that now he doesn't even have a chance to, when he runs, obviously he's not going to win the presidential nomination, and then going to try and run again in Texas. I'm sure he will, because he has nothing else to do.
I forgot about that.
So now I swear he's lost his chances there too. It's he could have just left gracefully, and his 0% took that with him, and then went back again and tried to run. But now it's you're not going to win the presidency, but you're also in Texas. We like our guns.
Yeah,
right? Just like we're pro-life, we're pretty pro-gun too. And for you to say more so than any other, anybody up there that you want to confiscate our guns just outright is
right. Since Eric Swalwell, anyway, and we saw what happened to Duke Nukem, and I call him that because he was the one who he was the one who's it'll be a quick civil war because we have all the nukes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see what happens to candidates when they go really extreme onto gun confiscation. Not even just, we want common sense gun control, which we still would be against, for the most part. But
it's a talking point.
Yeah.
What they really mean.
But just to come out right and say, he's in favor of confiscation was pretty brazen in my opinion. And you saw the video, right, of the woman in Colorado?
Yes, I did, which I'm forgetting her name. We were trying to
we were trying to figure out her specific name, but I was really impressed with her. I was proud that she was from Colorado.
I know.
I was like, yeah, that's right. The first person who really kind of told Beto to shove it right after that was from Colorado.
And then also I don't know if you watched the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I watched her whole, at least her whole thing. I didn't really listen to what he said too much, but he didn't really have much to say. Yeah,
he didn't have anything to say. Well, the two big things I loved about her speech was one, when that older guy was I forgot what he was saying, shouting her down a little bit, and then she was like, look, yeah, I have these guns, but I have your back, basically, look,
yeah,
I know you're anti-gun, but I still have your back, you're welcome. And then calling out Robert Francis O'Rourke for his criminal record was the
Oh
best
gosh,
part.
I know, that was so funny. And people in the crowd were like, "Ooh."
Yeah, that was awesome.
But it's true. I wonder if, you know, this is something I'd be curious about. I wonder if Robert Francis, first of all, if he owns any firearms himself. I don't know, but if he would pass a
Or
background check,
bodyguards.
because what were the things? What's on his record? Isn't it like a DUI or
Burglary?
something?
There's 2 of
Burglary.
them.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
someone she
Yeah.
was talking about burglary in that little
Yeah,
clip,
she
wasn't
was
she?
serious, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought she was being hyperbolic, but oh my god.
That, and then he was driving a DUI.
Yeah. Okay, so I was right about the DUI too. I thought I had seen something about that. But I mean, come on. He probably is ineligible to buy a firearm. I don't know the status of those, if there were really convictions or if he just like, you know, pled guilty and they got well, but burglary is pretty severe. That's not a baby felony. Burglary is usually a pretty big deal. So
Yeah, when you have a billionaire wife, then anything's possible.
oh yeah,
That's the thing,
we
her
saw with
heiress wife.
Jussie Smollett and stuff. It's like, you know, you can just if you're part of the elite, you can get out,
Right.
no matter
It's
what.
Juicy Smollett.
Juicy
Yes.
Smollett.
Oh, Dave Chappelle is making sure we know how to
I know.
enunciate.
Uh,
pronounce these correct.
I checked recently. Dave Chappelle's special is still only at like 33% from critics. There's like 9 critics, and it's like 33%, and then the audience is still at 99, 60,000 something reviews. They're so out of touch. Anyway, but yeah, I was proud to hear this woman. I mean, she was phrasing things in a way where I still think that, personally, I would have phrased stuff a little bit differently. Instead of saying, how are you going to legislate evil? I actually want to hear, how are you going to legislate what you literally just said you're going to do? Like, how are you going to actually execute this buyback program of all of these AR-15s? Because quite frankly, I don't know that many Americans who, if they own an AR-15, are going to comply. And then we get to this place where they are in New Zealand right now, where people are facing like 5 years or something in prison for not turning in their firearms. So, because they had passed a buyback program after their mass shooting, right? And so I just want, like, if I were there, I probably should have been there, but, you know, the thought of just actually going and, like, seeing Beto O'Rourke in person is kind of, like, not appealing. But,
5 o'clock rush hour.
I
in
know.
Aurora. So
But if I were there, what I would ask is, how do you actually plan to enforce this if people don't comply? Like, he keeps just saying, oh, the American people will comply. But it's like, okay, well, let's say they don't. What are you actually going to do? How many men are you going to send to my house to disarm me, you know, as a woman, you know, or that woman there? Like, how many men are you going to send to her house to confiscate her firearms that she purchased legally?
right.
Anyway, I'm on a rant. I'm sorry. But I appreciated what she was saying, but I think that like it's important to push these Democrats to the actual real life things that would happen if these policies were put into place. Like what enforcement would actually look like if they did something like that. And it's not just going to be all of the people who have rifles being like, oh yeah, Fed Gov, like here's my rifle. Like that's
No, it would be a
it's
civil
not going to
war.
happen.
It would
Yeah.
be a war.
It would be really bad.
And yeah, so I think, and speaking of war, going to, I finally had. I think it's important to bring this stuff up because I definitely had an aha moment where it just made absolute sense to me why this whole and I've been, I mean, just like the mental health, mental illness conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I've definitely been a part of it, and I definitely feel bad, but with the whole weapons of war type of, you know, aspect
Right.
of things, because this week we're talking about the assault weapons ban. In fact, they're going to be voting on that on Wednesday in DC. So a lot of people are going to be talking about stuff like that, but like the actual Second Amendment says nothing about the civilians get to have these type of arms, and then the military, the government gets to have these type of arms. No, I mean, that's the whole point, is that we're able to go against a tyrannical government, and we're supposed to at least have equal, you know, access to the type of arms that they would have. So it makes total sense to me now that we would have weapons of war.
You want me to
I've
stir
always
the
thought
mud?
about that theory wise. Huh?
You want me to stir the mud?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
So I know what my reply would be, but what's your reply to the people who would say, well, the Constitution does say a well-regulated militia?
They're talking about the people. They're talking it's not
Yeah.
the government. It's not militia.
It's a
and the
misunderstanding
government.
of what the word
It's
militia
trained,
means.
Right.
And it's like, what that's really saying is to have a militia that actually works well.
No, but the part where it says a well-regulated.
Right. But well-regulated, they've already found that it means trained. It's not regulated meaning government.
Right. And similarly, just the way that the clauses are written, like operatively, you wouldn't assume that that's saying we're giving authority to the government to regulate it, because it's like obviously you're talking about definitional issues of what we mean by regulated, but even if we don't get into that, it's like if a militia is well regulated, or for that to actually occur, the right of the citizens to bear arms shall not be infringed. Like, for the militia to actually be well regulated, to be well trained, we can't be infringing on the rights of the people. And so what they're really saying is they're explaining why the Second Amendment exists, but it's not. And that's why, I don't know if you saw that they did a remake of The Twilight Zone, and they did this bit where the joke that the comedian kept saying was like, it says the word regulated's in it. And it's like, well, just because the word is in it, it's like you have to actually look at what the sentence says and what they meant.
Jordan Peele, right? The
yeah.
one on that. You were talking about that, how annoying that one was.
And it's important. And that's it gets back to what you were saying. It's like, it's for the purpose of having a citizenry militia, right? It's a militia of citizens. And people are like, muskets were what the Second Amendment was meant to protect. It's like, those were weapons of war, dude.
Right, exactly.
That's what the soldiers used, were muskets at the time. And that's the other thing. I did talk about this a little last week, but they can't simultaneously say that you can't defend against a tyrannical government with the weapons we have, but then also say that the weapons we have are weapons of war and we shouldn't be allowed to have them. It's like, the reason why we're capable of defending against a government with them is because we're allowed to have weapons of war.
Right.
And I was talking about this too, the Middle East, like these gangs, so to speak, like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they've kept off huge governments just with rifles like that. And, the biggest governments militarily in the world can be held back with people who know how to use their rifles and defend with them. So, you're spot on. I mean, we cannot see the whole weapons of war thing, because I think not all Republicans do that, but I do think there's some who have kind of been like, well, yeah, maybe we don't need weapons of war. Like, it's really for self-defense and like home defense and hunting, but it's
so easy.
Not what it's about.
Any of that. And it's true. And I will again admit it. I think that's part of it when people would bring up that argument, like, well, the Second Amendment is about being against a tyrannical government, and I would be like, yeah, okay, but in my experience has been the self-defense issue, right? Like,
right.
Okay, self-defense in that context would still be self-defense because you're defending yourself against the government. But now I do understand more and more when it comes to that argument. And I think it's important for me to know the core of that, especially since I'm actually tomorrow flying to DC. I'm working with the DC project as the Colorado delegate. We're going to be Diana Mueller, who's the leader of DC Project, is going to be testifying in the committee against the assault weapons ban.
Okay,
we're going to be in the room with her. Good. Being her Moms Demand Action version, almost in the background. So I'll be looking for turquoise shirts in the background if you guys are looking at that C-SPAN stuff. But this is the conversation that we're having right now. For one, I mean, did you guys see? Oh, that was another video we could talk about. Did you see what's her name? Sheila Jackson. Her talking about AR-15s and then how it's a 50 caliber round, and they're like 10.
Does she know what a 50 caliber round is? If you
guys haven't seen this video, oh my god, so many good
Holy
things
crap.
out just today. It's like they were saving it all for Monday. Go and look up what Sheila Jackson Lee or whatever her name is.
That is so dumb.
Talk about, and she would say, so AR-15s. Like, there is so much misinformation out there, and also I feel like it's ignorance that they've actually want to continue to be ignorant about it.
Yeah,
they
do.
Want to do their research. I mean, they have all these policy people around them, and they can't figure out what an AR-15 is. Like, seriously,
or
like, they know what they're doing.
Like, read about it on Wikipedia for like 5 minutes.
Absolutely. No one called her out on that. I would have been like like a journalist putting up a microphone in front of her and with a straight face. Ridiculous.
It's like the people who still think that AR stands for assault rifle.
Right.
It's like
the basic
you could
of
not
things.
have done less research.
Right. And so, and the thing for me too is that I found over the years, and that's what I'm saying, I'm being honest with this, because even red flag laws, it took me a while to get completely on board with that until I did my research and found out that, hey, this makes total sense that this is something that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
Or
that we
thing
need
with the
to be
weapons of
fighting
war.
against.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. But my whole point is that the more information I gather, like the more knowledgeable I become about the topic, the more enthusiastic I am about the rights that are given. The rights that are protected through the Constitution and don't have
Given by God, that's
pure right. We're protected, given by God, protected by the Constitution,
Right.
And so. But because there's so many people, even Republicans, who'd be like, "Well, maybe you don't need an AR-15, right? Maybe
or maybe you don't need magazines that are this
right,
big."
exactly, right, exactly.
Mhm.
So I don't know if anybody's talking. I'm sure it's a lively chat for. I was saying
people are kind of funny in the chat. I mean, I can put this in between us so you can read it too. But yeah, I mean, I do think the weapons of war thing is really important because it's like you were saying, I've always focused on the self-defense part too, but I apply it to the government as well, because there are many, many instances wherein my safety could be jeopardized by the government. Like the government is the biggest, perpetrator of deaths against its own people, worldwide, it's just always been, it's the people who are committing genocides are governments. And it's against their own people usually. And those people are usually not armed. In fact, they're never armed. And it's self-defense for, we talk about as women, self-defense for us when we're concealed carrying and walking around and, making sure that we can defend ourselves against men who might be stronger than us, or even, burlier women who might be trying to come after us, whatever, period. Or someone with a gun in general, just anyone who would have a weapon. But also home defense against burglars, like Robert Francis, and against a tyrannical government, of course. But I've also talked about how a lot of countries have decided against trying to invade the United States because they know the citizenry is armed. So, and it's the same thing with Switzerland. That's why Switzerland has been able to just be neutral in the middle of Europe for hundreds of years. It's because their citizenry is armed. So it's self-defense wherever you might need to, or from whatever you might need to defend yourself from. And that includes the government, that includes foreign people, that includes people who are walking down the street. And so we should be able to have anything that the government has, really. And that gets into kind of, some intense stuff. That's where people go down the rabbit hole with that argument. But in general, the citizens, something that a citizen can legally acquire in terms of they can afford it, it's something they know how to control or could learn how to control. A citizen should be able to have that. Period. Absolutely. Weapon of war or not. If we're a militia, if we're going to have a well-regulated militia, we have to be allowed to have weapons of war. Period. It's part of it. Yeah.
All right, so I'm seeing this beautiful, no, not really, angry looking face up at us. We're gonna actually play. If you guys haven't seen this morning, we're about to play it. About this, the young 12-year-old activist from Sweden, our favorite Greta.
Greta
on the screen. So
Sorry,
listen to this.
Do that.
My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe.
I'm sorry. I know she's really passionate. I shouldn't be laughing, but like
She was laughing.
I was laughing almost the whole time.
Nina was laughing the whole time. But remember, Greta's watching you, so
I'll be watching you.
So yeah. First of all, sorry guys.
I know.
She is not 12. She's 16. Sorry.
Oh, that makes it so much funnier how we announced it or introduced it too. Go
right.
ahead.
Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with. I don't know if you guys have heard about her climate change. Girl, I don't even know. Okay, because like the UN climate change thing. I was wondering why everyone's talking about climate change more so today, but because of her speech, riveting speech, right? That was practiced with her Swedish actor mother and father. Apparently, they're both actors in Sweden. So literally stage actors. So.
I mean, the passion, you know, you could feel it. But it is pretty crazy. I mean, and someone in the live chat was saying, oh my God, the cringe. Yeah, it's really hard to watch stuff like that. But part of the reason we wanted to talk about her is because we also had in here, I think it was in DC, it was the climate strike.
Right.
And, you know, all of these people kind of, they have similar messages, which is like, the time to act is now. Stop saying we don't have enough money to, you know, do the Green New Deal or whatever, even though it's like, that should be a relevant factor. So, you know, if we can actually afford to implement the policies that they want, it should be relevant. But, you know, this woman's like, how dare, chick is like, how dare you, you know, not, you know, and what is she even proposing? That's the thing. Like, I didn't get to see her whole climate summit thing.
Well, her
or whatever
speech
she
ends
said
without any solutions.
Yeah.
But other than, you know, saying that we're horrible human beings. She is directing it to Americans. That's the thing. It's not. She's a Swedish person.
Even though like India and China pollute so much more than us, like we actually as a collective people do make efforts to try to reduce our footprint, but you know, like other countries don't care and they're not doing anything.
Well, when they try to, I remember because I went to school for this, for international political economy, and I remember like at that time in 2012, they tried to actually keep China and India and all these countries accountable, basically, but then they got mad saying, well, this is our time, essentially, for our industrial revolution. This is our time to get to the point like you guys are. You guys can't do that to us. They were trying to find them and hold them responsible. And they were essentially saying America had their time to be able to, you know, do something like this where they had to put that output.
Yeah, and and we had to use all of our factories.
Right.
And we had to manufacture all of our tools and all of the things that we use for our agricultural kind of stuff, but not to, and our manufacturing economy. Like the entire industrial revolution, without that, the whole world would be without so many inventions. And, you know, it's true. It's like, are we really allowed to tell another country they can't go through that process?
Well, that's the thing is they didn't allow it, but of course we're still in the national stage. Get Greta's saying, "How dare you?"
Greta, so I'm not past it. I'm not past how ridiculous that video was.
So that's what, and we're watching one. That part, I was like, I stopped. I was like, full stop. We are watching you. Full stop. Yeah, we already know this. Like.
Yeah.
Whatever policy you have after this, I already know that you guys are watching us. Like that is what your aim is to continue to watch us.
And seriously, like what is the UN gonna do? Even if they wanted to, what are they gonna do? They can't enforce any of their treaties anyway. And America violates treaties more than like any other country in the world. I mean, I just don't understand, like, why are you pleading to the UN about this? They're not going to do anything about it. And then, similarly, like, even here in America, you know, we have this climate strike, and I'll talk about how ridiculous the actual strike itself was, but what do they think? Like, what do they think the federal government's going to do? I mean, governments are historically the biggest polluters. And that whole situation that happened with Flint with the water, it's like that was a government problem that caused that. You know, they are not competent to do anything regarding the weather. Even if we had technology that would be sophisticated enough to reverse how much carbon is in, you know, the atmosphere or something like that, like the government has no ability to maintain or manage something like that. They're so incompetent. They can't. Is the water in Flint even clean yet?
I don't think so.
Right?
I feel like that would become news, or maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's been years now, hasn't it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just totally messing that up. Live chat, tell me what I'm talking about. But I really
Snopes us.
but I really like they can't, even if they actually had the desire to fix whatever climate situation we may or may not be in. The government's incapable of doing that.
Right.
There's nothing. They can't even deliver the mail without taking a loss. They've been taking a loss delivering the mail since the beginning of our country.
Look, I'm still getting mail from wedding invitations, okay, that were never sent.
So you invited people and you're just getting the return?
I'm just getting the return mail.
Antonia's wedding was in June, by the way. So
yeah,
that
guys.
just goes to show.
And if you're watching, honey, I love you. Happy 3 months.
No.
But, actually 3 days. So.
But I mean, really, and I have a friend in France who's been just trying to, we've been trying to do like a pen pal thing because, you know, it's nice to get something in the mail.
Right.
But, you know.
You get it.
If I get it, it's like he sent it, he bought an international stamp, we double checked the addresses, it's like it just never made it. But if governments can't even manage that, they certainly are not going to be able to fix the climate. There's just no way around it. And it's also not going to fix the climate to behave like these people at the climate strike were behaving, which is...
I'm trying to find that video.
I mean, if we could find the video of the guy twerking, that would be awesome.
We have a very nice treat for our audience. They're all gonna like, get off right before
the twerking video. But the thing that I thought was the most absurd was that they had like a dumpster in the street that had been lit on fire, and they were just burning trash in the streets. And here's the thing about burning trash. Okay. It emits stuff into the atmosphere. so like they're upset about our carbon footprint, okay? It's like what kind of mess did you guys release out into the world just from lighting that one dumpster on fire? You know, I don't even know. What are you're striking against what? The whole thing is just absurd. And then there was a guy twerking who we both admit is very flexible and actually quite talented.
Yes, I will say that.
But again, it's like you're twerking for the environment. Like, what are you twerking for? Twerking for Gaia?
Okay, let me see if I can get this.
So, yeah, Antonia's gonna send that clip to.
Too much. The things I do for you guys.
Antonia found the clip of this guy. But the other thing that I thought is worth mentioning while our producer's actually getting the clip to show you guys, and I think it's in this clip, is that some of the people who are dancing and are like near the trash can or the dumpster that's on fire have a bottle, like a plastic disposable water bottle, you know, like they're carrying Smart Waters or Aquafinas or whatever. And it's like, okay. So, first of all, you're burning trash, you're leaving trash, you're drinking out of disposable water bottles, and you're twerking. And this is all in the name of the climate or something? It's what is it going to do? It's going to do nothing. So, Edgar looks like he wants to say something.
Well, George Carlin had a bit about this.
Oh, yeah. Love George Carlin.
And his whole take on it, which I highly agree with, is people are not interested in really changing the world. They're just interested in changing what's around them.
Yeah.
To making their little space a little bit better. So this shit ain't about climate change. It's just about their little 2 square mile that they have to. They don't want to. Pretentious fucking human beings.
Yeah.
No.
That's the clip we should put up.
No, I want to put that clip. And also, I found out it's called Work for Peace, WERK, work, twerk.
Oh, ew! Oh my god!
So I sent it to Edgar. So we're gonna try and put that up at the end.
Yeah,
as a nice treat for our audience.
But I also want to point out, and this is something that Tim Pool talked about too was that I don't know if it was the same day as the climate strike, but in close proximity to it, the same kind of Republican guy and his group that picked up trash in Baltimore or helped clean up Baltimore. Scott, yeah, yes. Look at you knowing his name, girl. You're on top of it.
His long lock.
But he and his, homies or whatever were out in LA and picked up it was 5 tons of trash or something crazy in Los Angeles. And people were criticizing him, saying, you guys are just trying to make conservatives look good. It's like, well, that might be true, but it's like, did it make them look bad? Like, even if that was their motivation, it's like, isn't it good that they're picking up trash? Like, shouldn't we be happy, especially in LA? Like,
yeah, and it was a homeless. It was like the tent community that he was.
Yeah, it was in. They went specifically to Skid Row. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the video, or that's one of them anyway. I saw a couple different ones.
Not that one. Wait, the one I sent you, you didn't get it.
Well, it's hard for me to put it from my phone to the computer right away because you texted to me.
Oh. Sorry, we're discussing how this video can be
I see.
brought so that you guys can see it.
So you just tell me which one.
Okay.
But I do think that it is important to realize the hypocrisy on the side of the oh my god, that video is crazy. The hypocrisy on the part of the really extremist, like Gaia worshipping climate change leftists, because no one leaves more trash and more plastic and emits more burning plastic into the atmosphere than the people who light a dumpster on fire and leave trash in the streets, and all for the sake of the climate.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, again, we're ragging on the people who are doing it through the left. It can only be done through the leftist point of view, right? Only the government can do something. We actually have. I think we're gonna try and get them on the show. It's called American Conservation Coalition.
Oh,
and
cool.
They basically, they're a free market, pro-capitalist solution, organization. For climate change, for environmentalism and stuff like that. So, which we can definitely do. Conservationists, I always say, hunters are the largest conservationists that we have in America. So we are on the same side here. We obviously want to preserve our earth and we want it to be beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's just how we do it, the means of it. No, we don't need to do it in this leftist, far leftist, way of doing things. So, yeah. So.
And it's, and I gotta say, it doesn't help the narrative, or it doesn't help the people who are trying to really help the environment to have all of these crazy people out dancing and burning trash. And it's, if you really care about the environment and spreading that message, you should not be creating more trash, more waste, more pollution into the air. All of those things should matter. But instead it's about going out in public and making a scene or making a show of it. And the show isn't even it's not even, it's like, what are your policy solutions here? Because if it's the Green New Deal, we all know that's just communism. So, anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of AOC, actually, AOC was here in Boulder this weekend.
She was?
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. I know. You just feel the vibe in the air.
And she would go to Boulder. That's probably the only place where she would get a super warm welcome in Colorado would be in Boulder.
Yeah. She's making her rounds. She's out there for the... She's out there, yes, but she's out there for, telling people who she's supporting and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it seems like she's going to have a big say in how the, midterms and stuff are going to go in the future. So,
well, and that's something that people, I don't know if people are paying attention to this, but there really is kind of a civil war, a fracturing happening in the Democratic Party, because she is going around endorsing challengers, who are kind of like her, and how because she primaried out a challenger,
right,
or she primaried out an incumbent as a challenger, and so she's trying to do that so they can have more people in her squad or whatever crap that is.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think people realize that it's not, because the thing is, even if her constituents get rid of her, she does have millions of followers, and if she goes around and is swinging her, I can't believe she has clout, but if she goes around and swings her super far leftist clout around, that could actually affect some of those primary elections. But I just think that I don't know. I don't think the actual American people are going to go for it, though. Especially, I think a lot of the American people are pretty disgusted with how she and some of the other people in the squad have kind of behaved.
But have you talked to like Democrats who have said that?
Well, the ones who already hate Trump like a lot, or who are already ideologically possessed. Yeah, I mean they're not offended by anything she's done.
Right.
But people like my fiance, who, you know, he's coming from a Democrat like perspective, and I've moved him closer to, you know, the libertarian perspective. If you date me for long enough, you end up coming a little bit closer to that. But even then, he's still I would probably more so call like a classical liberal or a liberal, and he is just so disgusted by the identity politics. He is so put off by the whole idea that we should be responsible for what our ancestors did. Like, he just thinks that's disgusting, and I don't blame him, you know, and that it has him disenchanted with the entire Democratic Party, because he can tell that they're embracing these identitarians as like the new leaders.
Right.
You know, and he's like, how can I as like a white guy who they're going to try to like get reparations out of me or some nonsense, even if my ancestors didn't own slaves, like that's not going to matter. You know, it's he just
how would that work actually? Why, when you said that, I was like, would they just tax all the white people?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, that's the whole reparations thing breaks down so quickly. Like, even just me as a human here, it's like I have ancestors that both owned slaves and were slaves. So am I writing a check to myself? Or like, are we going to do it based on what percentage of me is black? Right. Or
one drop rule, like,
or because I'm mixed, do I just not count anymore, even though the one drop rule was a thing, and like my parents like lived under Jim Crow and like had to drink out of different water fountains? But like Kamala Harris looks a little bit darker, and even though she didn't have ancestors that were ever slaves, like, is she entitled to more reparations because her skin's darker than mine? Like, all of that stuff it crumbles like immediately. And plus, that's really what affirmative action was supposed to be for. And I have my own opinions about affirmative action as a thing, but to be now saying like, we need to give them reparations, it's like, well, we've been kind of trying to have corrective stuff in the law for a while, even though it was unequal, and even though our Supreme Court like said it was unequal, but we have to remedy the horrors of the past. Like, if you read Justice O'Connor's like opinion, where I forget the name of the case, but it's basically where she says that affirmative action is still okay. And she says, you know, I don't know when we've reached equality, but we haven't yet. Like, I'll know it when I see it. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. This is a little bit of like legal stuff here, or like me pontificating as a lawyer. But I just think that it is important for us to think about how absurd the whole reparations thing is. Just it can't go anywhere. And we've been trying to fix it anyway.
Doesn't Nina's arms just look fantastic?
I know, my arm and it's like I have been.
Look at those! Goodness, girl!
Tickets to the gun show. I've been training to. Yeah, I've been training to be a yoga instructor, and I just finished a 13-week like intensive program to do that. So, and it's true. Like, the other day when I was at the airport, I went to go grab my suitcase from the little conveyor belt thing, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that's freaking light. But yeah, I've been trying to make sure I maintain it too. I might start with some rock climbing and stuff, but that's kind of
new. Do a buyback of her guns.
Of these guns. Oh, that even has Edgar laughing. Mandatory buyback of these guns. But yeah, I meant to wear a jacket too, so there you go. Everyone just gets to see my triceps and
Nina
biceps on display today.
Putting in the link her 6-week program.
Yeah.
For you guys to buy.
You guys can all come to my yoga class. You know, you'll get some guns.
There you go. Yeah.
Not firearms.
Well, you might stop by at Guns for Everyone in Wheat Ridge.
Yeah, and you should.
And get some firearm action.
Yeah. And Edgar, were you about to say something? It looked like you had a thought. No?
I have a lot of thoughts.
And he's not talking about the THLT
Do you have any? Do you have other thoughts? Oh,
or am
God. Those
am
thoughts. But anyway, so, and I'm trying to.
Sometimes you surprise me with the shit you say. It's just like, it's amazing.
Antonia.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I Yeah.
It's amazing.
We're feistier than we may seem. But anyway, we had one other story. I thought
Oh yeah.
we went on about climate change for a while.
Somebody asked about the lawsuit with the ERPO. That's a question on the comments.
Oh.
And there's really no new things other than the lawsuit was filed. And
For Colorado, is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. So that's
yeah,
really
I'm
the
sorry. I wish I knew. What was
That's the
going
only.
on with that.
Well, they filed it May 2nd, so
Oh.
it's probably going to take a while before it actually.
What was the
Yeah.
group that filed it?
RMGO is the one that
Oh, okay.
filed it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and I really should follow that more, but it's probably, I don't know, in
Yeah.
early stages of litigation, not that much happens.
Also,
for like
since
6
it hasn't
months,
been
like almost not that much
implemented
happens. So, and then people, I have noticed in the live chat, someone was asking if I had seen, or if we had seen rather, Tulsi on Dave Rubin.
Oh yeah, we did. I did.
I watched it too. I actually I tried to listen to it live. I think I missed the first few minutes, but I heard her talking about the Second Amendment at least, and
That's what we. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's like
Yeah.
it's like where do you fall on that? And I mean, later she talked about how we need to have a conversation about reparations and need to start calculating that. So that ties into what we were just talking
But yeah,
about.
in the same conversation, she said the whole identity politics thing, like how
It's like a
speaking Spanish
problem.
and when she didn't need to.
Gosh,
You're
I still can't believe they
contradicting yourself.
spoke Spanish in those debates. That was so heinous. But yeah,
Plus, we're not it. Like Mexicans are not the minority right now.
I
We're
mean,
not, like if they're gonna be pandering
True.
to anybody, like we're not
You
it
white
right now.
people.
yeah. I mean, the implication
yeah.
is that they're pandering to like people who are here like illegally. I guess.
Yeah, but we're not the minority. We're not the it minority.
Yeah.
We're not.
So it was a very strange.
Yeah, give it 10
flex.
years and then we'll be the it.
Oh, I
minority.
see what you mean. You mean like the gun community. So you're saying like the black people are the it minority right now.
Right now, black people are the it minority.
Yeah, or they're like the hot
Correct.
minority. Yeah.
Look at everything, and it's all
Yeah.
black because they don't give a shit about Mexicans in Oscars right now, in Emmys, and any of that shit. The conversation is,
It's flipped.
and it happens like there's a cycle because we were the it minority a few years ago.
So
We
this
were the hot
conversation
one.
is so awkward and uncomfortable.
But it is.
Why?
But it's
Like
true
we're not in
though.
vogue right now.
It's
we're-
true. I mean, and that was the thing. It was like for a while, like African Americans weren't the hip minority. Like it was Hispanics for a while, and
Right.
actually,
I think
kind of Muslims had sort of
They're
their time in the
more so right
spotlight.
now.
But I feel like because of Elon Omar, people have gotten kind of like, like we're not sure about that. But yeah, right now it's like the whole the reparations thing, the whole slavery thing, the I don't know, structural racism, all of that is still what people are like the most hot about.
I guess, but then it's like, but that's always been around. And even like politically, I feel like Hispanics, that's people, they still focus on Hispanics like for their vote because they're the biggest vote. Like it depends on what is the it thing. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's true, but then it's like, remember the debate where Kamala and Biden had their little back and forth, and they were talking about like busing
Oh yeah.
back in the like 60s or 70s or whatever, as if that was like a big issue for right now. And
Right.
it's, that's one of those things where it's like that's when they're tipping into that like hot minority thing. But I do think that you're right to the extent that there's a lot of pandering to the Hispanic community. And the whole, I mean, it doesn't work well. Like, and that's one of the things Tulsi Gabbard mentioned when she was on Rubin, was that she spoke to, I think she said it was a Mexican woman. Maybe she said it was Guatemalan. I forget. But she spoke to someone from
Same shit.
I knew someone was gonna say
Edgar's words, not mine. Edgar's words. No, but I mean, the whole idea was like she was so offended by that. She said that it was very condescending, and just kind of like the idea that they couldn't learn how to speak English to listen to the debates was just, offensive, and she hated that pandering. I'll have to look down and see what this says myself. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The minorities generally are hot right now for them. But I do want to talk about what Tulsi said about guns, because I feel like a lot of people give her a pass.
They do.
And I admittedly, the stuff she has to say about her foreign policy is like really awesome. You know, listening to her talk about war is really inspiring. I appreciate that there is at least one candidate on the Democratic stage who's anti-war. Like, my God, that used to be part of their like platform. Anyway, but she did say something along the lines of, we need to make sure that we take extra steps to make sure that guns don't get in the hands of people that we don't want them to be in the hands of, you know, people who, I don't know, might not be that mentally stable. I think she said something like that. Which to me is like, yeah, you might be okay with red flag laws, maybe. It seems like you're certainly okay with more gun control than we have now.
Right.
But she was kind of trying to, I think she knows that she has a lot of support from like some libertarians, and I think she was trying to tread carefully on that.
Well, you shouldn't tread on me
at all. Right? I know. I mean,
so yeah, I think the big but yeah, there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, let's just support her because she's honestly the least, at least right now, she's the least, you know, forthcoming about her policies on the Second Amendment versus like people like Beto, right?
Yeah.
Just like buybacks, mandatory buybacks. That's the like that's the
yeah,
the popular
she's
thing
not
to say
participating
right
in the whole woke off regarding guns.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
who can be the most extreme policy wise with guns. But I still think that if she had a red flag law bill come to her
Right,
desk,
she would.
or if even that assault weapons ban
She did,
came
and
to
that's the
her
thing,
desk,
she's
I think
been
she'd
in
sign
office.
it.
She's actually signed stuff that's
Yeah.
very anti-gun. So
Because
how's
how's Hawaii with their gun laws? I mean, I have never been to Hawaii, but based on some interviews I saw with people, it was like maybe it was Crowder who went out there to debate socialism or something with someone there. But from what I've heard about their policies, you know, I would not be surprised if there isn't already some pretty intense like gun control in Hawaii.
right?
But I don't know. I'm speculating.
I think all 50 states have concealed carry. It's just shall versus may.
Right.
So I'm guessing it's one of the 8
yeah.
may states.
I could probably look that up on my phone or something. But she would be a great like Secretary of State or like Secretary of Defense.
Or it would just be foreign policy.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep her the hell away from the economy. She doesn't understand economics at all. And that's part of the problem too. You know, she talks about all this money we could save with the wars, but she just wants to put all that into welfare programs.
Right.
You know, so it's not like, it's like, oh yeah, like we want to save all this money on war, but I want to use it to facilitate, you know, the kind of welfare state that libertarians would be vehemently against. So it's kind of strange to me, but I think it's because they look at that field and everyone is just so insane. And
Right.
she's at least has nuanced opinions on some things, and I think that's why she's getting any kind of support from, because that's the thing, conservatives kind of like her too. They would prefer her to anyone else. Yeah, although he's kind of been slipping.
Yeah.
even with like the rational liberals, he's been kind of like,
Oh, is he going too far extreme? Is that why?
yeah, well, I mean, the whole monopoly money thing is just kind of crazy, you know, like he tweeted out something that was like, the solution is clearly just to give people more money. I don't understand why no one's thought of this before.
Yeah, no,
like
no
totally serious, like not joking.
Our deficit is 110% of our GDP, but no one's thought about putting more money into the problem. Like that's not something
and he's like, and if we don't have it, we can make it. It's like, okay, so you're literally saying like, let's just print money and give it to people. If that worked, Zimbabwe would be so wealthy. They would be the wealthiest country on earth.
They'll be wealthy again.
Yeah.
But I won't go into the black woke stuff. You know,
I do want to know about that. We should do some episodes on stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just think compared to everyone else, she seems a little bit sane. I also think that Andrew Yang has come out with some policy positions that were more extreme on like, I'm trying to remember if it was climate change or what, but he came out with some stuff where even Tim Pool has now, who had always kind of liked Andrew Yang, has been like, I don't know. And Tim Pool is not a conservative.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I mean, I do think the economics, like that Greta, right, was complaining about how it's like, oh, all you guys do is talk about money. It's like, well, all you guys do is act like money is not a thing, or that it doesn't matter, or that it doesn't require money or resources to create things, or that you can just make money out of thin air. Like, no one knows where money comes from, and so. Or where wealth comes from.
We're getting some people dropping some knowledge in there, talking about like where the word slave comes from.
Oh, snap.
I don't know. We
Like
might have
Slavic?
yeah.
Yeah, I
We might
didn't know
have
that.
to Snopes that. Okay, you already knew that. Well, there you go. You're like, Antonia. Sorry, I don't focus on that stuff. Okay.
Someone's making a joke about the whole like if such and such many wild hogs like ran through my property. I don't know if you saw that. That was something that went viral on Twitter a while ago. But I do think it's interesting to think about, because people in big cities, I mean, I still think that people in big cities undervalue the benefit of carrying. You know, but people who live in rural communities, it's like, you need a weapon to defend yourself against wild animals too. And that's the whole thing that's so crazy when I heard about Trudeau talking about how he's going to ban weapons.
That's what we're going to talk about was Trudeau.
Yeah.
You guys want to
Oh, yeah. Do we even talk about his blackface and stuff? Oh my God.
Brown face.
How long have we been streaming, Edgar?
I think at least we're 40 minutes, 50 minutes.
We're approaching an hour, but I mean, the night is young.
People are like, click. No, it's not. I'm going to bed. We should end with that, and then we should end with work for peace.
The word
for peace. Yeah. So yeah, the whole Justin Trudeau.
Oh God, yeah. I guess for some reason I thought we had talked about that. It's probably because we talked about it before we started. But do you know all the details, or do you want me to give a quick rundown on some of this stuff?
The only thing I knew, like, when it came out, I just knew he wasn't going to get... That's the thing. It's like, now I'm just, like, over it. Because I just know after Ralph Northam that was like, they're not going to do anything. He's a poster. Like, people love him internationally, right? And,
yeah,
you know, so there's just no way. But, 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. Oof. And, man, so the first one... I want to preface this by saying that, in general, I think that if you are wearing costumes, that you should be able to dress up like whoever you want. Like, I actually don't appreciate the outrage culture around blackface. Like, I think it's gone way too far. But the reason why I have just been hysterically laughing about this story is because freaking Trudeau has always been one of these identitarian types. Like, he is just so... He has always been such a, like, I'm super inclusive, like, LGBTQ2AI plus something. Like, he's always been Mr. Inclusive. But then, of course, it's like, it's always these dudes who are the ones who come out with these horrible examples of, like, blackface. Because did you see the photo of the whole Arabian Nights?
Yeah, I saw that one where he's, like, almost choking that girl or whatever.
Yeah. And it was so weird, too, because all of those other girls, I guess, were supposedly also in the same show, but none of them were in brown face. Like, and he was dark. Like, it wasn't like he just, like, put on some bronzer or something. Like, dude had brown shoe polish, like, from head to toe. It was crazy.
Was it shoe polish?
It looked like
I always wonder where do they get this stuff. Like, they go to, like, the tiki store, like, and they're like, you know, hey, put some brown face.
Yeah, will you put some brown face
costume.
on me? But then, and that's the thing, is, like, that picture came out, and then there were 2 other instances that came out, but one of which was one he revealed himself, and it was he apologized twice. One time he was in the garden, and that one was pretty funny because he's like, like, was that bad? Like, should I, like, have not done that? Like, if I had known that was bad at the time, like, I wouldn't have done that, and I should have known it was bad at the time, but, like, I didn't. It's, like, such a terrible apology. And then on the airplanes, one of the interviewers asked him if there was ever any other time he had done this. And he's like, well, one time in high school, I donned blackface and I danced to Deo in a talent show. And I have just been cracking up at the idea that he did specifically, like, Harry Belafonte blackface. Like, he went out of his way to, like, it's like, you couldn't just sing Deo, you know, like, as a white guy. Like, you have to, like, don Harry Belafonte blackface to do it.
Right.
But But the thing, and why we were going to talk about it a little bit tonight anyway, is because he's been trying to deflect now, and what he announced or proposed was that he was going to introduce some kind of AR-15, AK-47 buyback program in Canada. Like that, it's like, am I having a bad media week?
Let's just do what Beto did.
Yeah, I'll pull a Beto, or I'll pull up Robert Francis
Yeah.
and just announce a gun buyback. And it's like, I mean, obviously there's parts in America we have a lot of wild animals that we have to deal with, but like Canada, bro, like you're gonna take rifles away from people living in Canada. And then immediately Tim Pool did do, I'm sorry, I mentioned Tim Pool so many times today, but he did a video about how Trudeau dropped 15 points in the race, like in the polling as a result of this.
When is their election?
That's a good question. I don't know what day it actually is, but it's coming up. Like it's not good timing for him.
Right. And that's the thing is, it's Time Magazine who brought up those photos. Or
October 21st is their election, I guess. Thank you, Edgar.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was Time Magazine that published those first.
Especially at least the first one is the one that they got. I'm like, but yeah, why is Time Magazine just...
Also, how...
Hey, I was going to go see Castro that day.
It's not even like, one time I did blackface, like it was such a mistake. It's like, I don't even know how many times I did blackface. From like the Mr. Inclusive, Mr. Everyone's welcome in Canada, whatever. And then it's like deflecting with the gun buyback. But yeah, so now it went from being like a close race in a lot of the polls to him like definitely losing. No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that what it's looking like?
Yeah, as a result of these...
I don't have faith in humanity enough. I just feel like they're just going to be like, it's okay. Like,
But it is true, like, he pissed off a lot of these kind of leftist socialist types because it's unlike the people who actually came out or unlike the people who just don't apologize and it just kind of goes away. Like, he came out and he was like, it was a racist thing to do, and I did it. It's like, dude. So he's gonna, and these are the people that are his base, kind of. These are the people he's courted this whole time. Right. So I just think he's gonna, I think he like, there was one of the socialist groups were like, oh, we're off the Trudeau train or something because he's racist now, and he admitted he's racist. It's not even like he deflected. He's like, oh nope, I should have known that was racist, but I did it.
It's always those people. It's like the guy who, well, I'm thinking about the guy who they found out the gay conversion therapy. He finally came out that he was gay as well. Like, it's like those type of people who they really focus on stuff like that, right? And then you're just like, you're hiding something.
Yeah.
Oh, because you have something to prove, because you done messed up. Like, those are always the same type of people, and it's just like,
yeah, no, it's true. And it's the same thing with the guys who are super intense male feminists and who are like, all men are sexual predators, blah blah blah. It's like that, when you say that, dude, you're saying you're a sexual predator. And I trust people when they say that. Right. So and then there's a reason why, like, horrible stories keep coming out about people like that, or people who are so gung-ho about like all men are predators. It's like, well, you're saying that because you probably did something kind of predatory, and because the guys who aren't, they're not out saying that because they know they're not.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the people. It's like all white people are racist. It's like if a white person says that, they're admitting that they're a racist. But it's like the white people are like, not all white people are racist. It's like, that person's probably not. And if they might still be, but the likelihood that they are is at least lowered because they're not admitting it to your face.
It's like, I'm just going to talk about it first before someone finds out that I'm racist.
Yeah.
Let me get in front of this. People are going to find out later.
I'll just be like, I know I'm a racist, and so I'll say that all of us are.
Right.
So maybe it won't be as intense. But anyway, I do think that's part of that's why Trudeau has this stuff come out. It's like he's always been, oh, I'm super inclusive, blah blah blah. It's like, well, you've got these skeletons in your freaking closet, man. Arabian Nights.
Yeah, brown face skeletons. That's what you have.
Deo and blackface. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, before we end, a couple of announcements. We are still doing that partnership with Gun Owners of America. So We'll have in the description box the special 25% off code, or rather it's the link to, if you guys want to become members of GOA, we have 25% off of that.
And you should want to be members. It's a great organization.
Yes, amazing organization. This is going to be an important week, guys. This is the week that there were actually, Trump was supposed to talk about gun control last week, but he pushed it to this week. So that's why they're saying he's going to say whatever he's going to say about gun control this week, but also the assault weapons ban. They're supposed to have a vote on that this Wednesday. So a lot of things are happening in Congress. So we need all the help we can get. GOA is out there. Like seriously out there doing stuff for us on behalf of gun owners. So they need our support. So share that link, spread the wealth, spread the love, get that 25% off. Also, a big special thank you to Guns for Everyone for hosting us every week here.
For producing the show, making the show possible.
Stuff. Yes, and our just putting up with us too. Thank you, Edgar. And
if you're in Colorado and you want to get a concealed carry license, Guns for Everyone is great. They have free concealed carry classes, so make sure to check out their website if you want to sign up. That's how I got my concealed carry, and I always like to pitch that at the end of the show.
Oh, good. So Edgar did put the link in the live chat, so you guys go there and donate, become a member. Even if you're already a member, donate. And before we leave, we have to end it off with a happy note, a sweet, funny note. This is right before you go to bed, so nightmares for you, but this is the video everyone's talking about right now, climate strike. So
right, and we'll probably leave you with the video.
Yes, we'll leave it. We'll leave gracefully.
The last announcement to make is if you want to financially support the show, you can become a patron on Patreon. Trigger warning to a podcast on Patreon. But the best thing you can do is just to share this video if you liked it, or share the podcast if you're listening to us on Google Play. We're working on iTunes still, but please just share this to anyone who wants to hear us, because that is how we'll grow our audience and get this message out.
Yes, hit the like button, press subscribe, press that bell so you know the next time that we're going to be on. But I am Antonia Okafor.
And I'm Nina Prevo, and we will see you next week.
And this is Trigger Warning 2A.
Bye, guys. Enjoy this twerk.
Yes.
you.